Let's quickly move on. Markets largely flat. You do have some movement in the mid cap and small cap indices, but I'll like to quickly move on to our guest for today. We have with us Abhishek Basu Malik, who is the Chief Equity Advisor at IntelSense Capital. Welcome, sir. I'm Harsh here. Good afternoon. Thank you for doing this. Let me quickly try and understand from you your views with regard to current valuations. How do you view the index itself, and how do you view mid cap and small cap? That's in a bit of a sweet spot, especially year to date, solid returns, nearly 30% on both those indices. How do you view valuations at the moment?
So, first of all, good afternoon, Harsh, to you and your viewers. Uh, I think, see, if you look at the overall market, markets have been pretty much in a consolidation mode for a while. So, although valuations seems to be slightly on the higher side, it's not something that is, to be really alarmed about. And neither is it very, very lucrative, right? So it's somewhere in between. And if I look at the mid cap, small cap space, and like everybody is saying, right, the last 3-4 months have been very good for the mid cap and small cap. But if I extend the horizon to the last 5 years, mid cap, small caps are, they've not outperformed by a great deal. So it's not right for us to conclude that mid cap and small caps are in a bubble. Yes, they've done well, and most interesting part is if you look at the results, the corporate results for last quarter, companies have actually performed well, right? And that is what is probably leading this rally in the mid cap, small cap space.
Right. So earnings linked is how you seem to sum it up. But let's try and also get from you some context with regard to what sectors are you finding interesting. So of course you have seen some amount of earnings re-rating happen. Do you what are the pockets that you feel can continue to lead the re-rating with regard to mid and small?
See, if you look at where the money is flowing in, and when I say money flowing, I'm not talking about the market, but I'm talking about business. The money is flowing essentially into infrastructure. A huge amount of government spending is happening both at the central and the state levels. So infrastructure definitely is one. Railways obviously is another one, and an offshoot for them is capital goods, engineering, that space. So these are a direct play on the capex that is happening by the government and the central and the state governments. On the other side, I think pharma is beginning to pick up after many years. If you pick your spots within pharma, especially the domestic plays, pharma is actually a good place to be in.
Right, understood. Let me try and deep dive a little further on some of those bets or rather sectors that you are looking at. So within infra, would you prefer some of the larger cap names or the smaller cap? Of course, the small cap or the mid cap segment has done quite well, given that the order pipeline is quite robust. But how do you look at execution on that front as well? So if you can give us some color or flavor around those particular pieces.
First of all, my theory is never to look at businesses on a market cap basis, right? Because let's flip the question. If you are the promoter of a company, will you behave differently if your market cap is 10,000 crores versus 1 lakh crores? You won't. I mean, your job is to execute on the business day in and day out. So you have to look at businesses, look at the industry tailwinds, look at how a particular business operates, uh, what are the dynamics of that business, and then take a call on that. So whether it is mid cap, small cap is completely irrelevant. You need to find out niches in individual spaces, right? So even in the infrastructure, if you have roadways, you have power, you have railways as an offshoot. All of these are as sort of segments within the infrastructure area which you can look at and play.
Right, understood. And with regard to pharma, you have spoken about domestic facing. Any preferences you have with regard to that?
No, so pharma again is a very, very interesting space because each company is different. You cannot take really a sectoral call. You need to understand the businesses of each country. I mean, each company, how they are positioned, whether they are a domestic only play, whether they get their revenues from US, or whether they're getting their revenues from other countries. Some countries, some companies are very dominant in say LATAM and Africa. So you need to pick and choose exactly where you want to look at. Personally, right now, I think I would prefer companies which are more domestic oriented, where their sales predominantly are in India. And you can look at both you know not only formulations players, but also APIs, etc. So all of these are looking interesting.
Got it. And let me quickly ask you also your views on the IT sector. Of course, globally, the economy seems to be in a bit of a struggle. But how do you view IT? Yeah, because where there is growth, there are the margin of comfort with regard to valuations is tough to find, and where there's no growth, there seems to be some valuation comfort. So how should one look at IT? How do you look at IT?
So I think pretty much last year, when all IT management, especially IT services companies managements, were very gung ho and about their prospects, I think we were one of the first people who started cautioning, saying that things are turning bad on the ground. Now I think I'm exactly on the opposite side of the spectrum, and now I start. I now think that we are probably at the bottom of the business cycle in IT. My sense is probably give or take one quarter here. I mean, probably take out this quarter, but from next quarter onwards, things will start getting better. So if people with a longer term horizon, people who are investing for 3 years, 5 years, now is a decent time to pick up good IT companies.
Understood. Abhishek, last question. Try and help us dissect financials. How do you view financials, both with regard to valuations as well as regard to subsectors? Because financials is large, around 40% of in terms of weightage. So how should one look at financials, and what pockets do you like?
Extremely bullish on financials. I think last 7, 8, 10 years has been quite poor for the financials, in the sense that uh, growth was muted. Most of the banks, NBFCs, MFIs, all of them have been able to sort of improve their balance sheets over the last say half a decade. Uh, Credit growth is coming back. Companies are having much more leaner, cleaner balance sheets. So going forward, I think if focus on maybe the top PSU bank, one or two of the top private banks, and some of the MFIs, I think the next 2, 3 years could be extremely good for this space.
Right. Right, Abhishek, that's all the time we have with you on this one. So thank you so much for taking our time, speaking to us, and trying to break down all of those sectors, and as well as the mid and the small cap as well. So thank you so much for that. We'll slip into a very short break. More, of course,